This is a video of a talk from Crater Remote Conf given to a live audience in February 2016. This video was made possible by sponsors like Modulus.io, okgrow.com, and spacedojo.com. If you would like to find out more information about upcoming conferences, be sure to go to conf.crater.io and put your email in the form that pops up in the lower left corner. Enjoy the video. All right, welcome back, Crater Conf fans. So this talk is going to be put on by Karl Danninger from OKGrow, building content-oriented sites with React. So I think welcome, Karl. Right?
Hi.
I'm like totally off my game today. So you get this talk's totally coming out of learnings that you guys did, like building okgrow.com as a React app with SSR and that kind of stuff, right?
Totally. So yeah, we wanted to do some exploration, figure that all out, and I wasn't happy with like the current solution, so this is the byproduct of that.
Awesome. All right. Well, you can get on into it, man.
Cool. So am I sharing? Is this all working? Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Okay. So my name's Karl Danninger. I work for OKGrow, and I want to talk today about content-oriented sites with Meteor and React, of course. It's kind of necessary. Okay, can I sorry, it's just a weird thing I can't really get out of. So people unfamiliar with JavaScript frameworks ask me, they often ask me about like, can JavaScript do content? Because like there's some misconception that, you know, these like single page apps of like, let's say 2 to 3 years ago weren't crawlable, first of all, and like I guess we've come pretty far as like a bunch of JavaScript frameworks being able to do this. And I mean, even Google is a little bit agnostic to JavaScript, like 100% JavaScript sites as far as like being able to like crawl for content. But you know, as spoiled, nerdy developers that we are, we want to build heavily content-oriented sites, but we love JavaScript frameworks too much. So there was a couple problems with Meteor. One, it's not indexed properly by crawlers. Again, not so true with Google coming out with like the whole like being able to crawl JavaScript sites, but we can't really rely on that right now. If you're building content-oriented sites solely in like, you know, templates, you're going to have an enormous first payload because you're sending that all down. And there's some weird behaviors that come along with like JavaScript framework sites. So route changing, leaving you not exactly where you expect if you're scrolling down. Those are the 3 points I'd like to talk about today. So one, not being able to index properly by crawlers. So like this question got asked, I think a year ago. Actually, Josh has more views and more likes, but this guy's answer is all I really needed. So a while ago, Meteor and SEO weren't really besties. Like there was Spiderable, which again, like didn't really work out in a lot of use cases. Like I'm a big fan of deploying on Heroku. Never really worked out for me there. I know people have had problems with it on DigitalOcean, and it really, you know, it was just a little bit flaky. Pre-render is kind of cool, but it seems, well, at least for me, that it's just another layer of complexity that I don't want. Meteor actually wrote this blog post a couple days ago saying that like you can automatically pre-render using prerender.io, but it's only available for Galaxy Professional and Enterprise editions. Like Unfortunately, I'm not really ready to shell out 500 a month for that. But I mean, React and Meteor is pretty cool, and I mean, this is kind of the bandwagon everyone's jumping on right now, and I don't know, it seems to be working out pretty well, and there's no real like thought overhead. Just being able to write your app as you would. So I have to give credit to Aeronoda. It's funny that I'm right after him, but there's like being able to write React templates will effectively be able to run both on the server and on the client side. And this ties into using Flow Router with React Layout. There's a branch for SSR. This is coming out fairly soon with Flow Router 4.0. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you guys a quick curl of what you can expect. Like, oops, so this moved somewhere. Can you guys still see this?
Yeah, we see your code right now.
Yeah, okay. So something you'd expect a crawler to be able to do is to see like content on the page. Before using like things like Flow Router SSR, you'd see something like this. This is a big shame on me because I'm not using anything on my site. You get like an empty body, which is not really cool. Now, if we were to redo that using like those two technologies that I just talked about, like React Layout and Flow Router SSR, we get all of our content as if like a bot were scraping our site would see. So here's my actual blog post, and you can see all this stuff. I mean, it's pretty ugly, but hooray! We have server-side rendering Meteor app using React. So that's really cool. So you're going to have an enormous first payload if you're writing all your content statically in templates. Again, not that cool. Being nerds, like what we want is to be able to write content, preferably somewhere else. Markdown being something that feels good. We want to store and deliver that stuff from, again, something that isn't executable. The private directory that Meteor offers is actually a pretty cool solution, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Being able to query content via Mongo, mini Mongo, like we're still used to that stuff coming from Meteor land, so why not? An outcome of this is we still don't want to break SEO and server-side render all the things. So writing content should feel good. Markdown is like a pretty standard way of doing content, especially for non-technical people. Like everyone can do this. Even, I don't know if can you guys see my mouse? I hope so. But this top section in between the 3 hyphens, line 1 through 8, like you can have arbitrary attributes that can help define what a piece of content could be. And the cool thing about writing content is it could be anything. This is a somewhat bad example because it's a blog post, but I don't know, like if you have like some partials in your site that were static, just like text, like why not ship it like from Markdown right into your site via like some query? There's great tools out there like to help you write better Markdown, especially if you're non-technical, being able to see these things side by side, like input and outputs. And little known fact is GitHub is an amazing spot to be editing these files as well. Yeah, and having, ooh, what happened? Shouldn't scroll. Keep thinking this is a page. Being able to have like assets as well within the same directory as where your Markdown files are is, awesome, especially for non-technical people to see images or videos or any type of link within their page. as they're editing. So private. This is kind of like a black box for most people. I overlooked it for years developing Meteor apps, but it seems to be a really powerful tool where you can just store static content and then divvy it up how you would on the back end. So on the right hand side here is a little bit of a structure of how I'm doing a simple blog. So under private, there's a content folder with all my posts organized by dates. And here I have my Markdown file, postmd, alongside all of the images. So when a non-technical colleague goes in to edit something or needs to change something up, all these images are still going to work, even if he's looking at it within GitHub. I wanted to quickly show you guys like how this stuff works. So this is a little bit scrappy, but I think it's really cool, and it's only 40 lines of code. So there's a couple things that help with this stuff. So being able to like sync files from private directory, just like read them out. So there's an npm module called glob, helps you find the path names and the actual content of these things. You can loop over them. And then I'm using another npm module called Markdown parse. This basically gives me some things that I really wanted, like an automatic HTML parser, and I needed to rip out those attributes from the head, which is called front matter. Here, I'm just going to go back up to this file here. So lines 1 through 8, front matter, just arbitrary like key value pair stuff. So I can use them later. Like I could even add in one saying, this is partial for team bios, for instance, like use this partial here. So when I'm later on doing my querying, like you can query wherever you want. So I'm going through all this stuff. I'm doing a little bit of hacky stuff to find all the images within the files and replace them with my custom private assets. Because of course, like I have these assets within my private directory, which means that they won't be served in the normal sense. And then I'm doing a very normal insert right here. So with my assets, my HTML, my Markdown, and my attributes, being that like the first top section of my Markdown file, the front matter. Being able to have this stuff in a Mongo collection as well, like on the client and the server side. Now, if I wanted to take this a step further, you can actually define collections with the name of null. This will create an unmanaged, unsynchronized local collection. This could be beneficial if you just want to like have all of your content in memory instead of like in an actual MongoDB instance. Because of course, like if we're just doing content, like straight content, you may not like need a database. And I mean, it's as simple as doing something like this. Like on the server side, we're going to create contents without a name. And then on our client side, we're just going to fake it so that we can keep our DDP and reactive stuff still happening. And the cool part about this is like it's as normal as subscribing to exactly what you need. So building like a content-oriented site should feel exactly how it should, you know, just building a straight normal Meteor app, just with like React components as your templates, and yeah, being able to query exactly what you need. So like I have like a post index, which finds everything with a date field, for instance. Again, just an arbitrary value. I mean, it could be anything, like any type of partial on your site. So another kudos to Aeronota. He has another package called Picker. I think it's Meteor Hacks Picker. This is a server-side render route that allows you to serve like assets from the server. I just decided to call it something different. So like when I'm going through my HTML, it's easier to find the things per page. I mean, you could do whatever you want here, but again, thanks Aeronota. Again, meta tags. Kadir team has another package called Dockhead. If you want to manipulate your meta tags depending on like the life cycle of your components, if you have like a main layout of some sort, like a main layout React component, this is something that you would actually want to do during the component will mount step. So yeah, like you have complete control over this stuff, and especially like the output of what comes on the server side. I want to talk quickly about CDNs. I still want to be able to use local assets in development and then have some type of global variable set in different environments. I think this is pretty important to me. So like being able to have things set globally, like if something exists here, line 39, I want to use it. If not, don't. And then I usually end up registering some type of global helper that sets the thing. The one problem with this is that you have to remember to like prepend these things to image sources or wherever you're using the thing. The cool part is if it's empty, if it's just empty and you have like /path, like some absolute path, it'll find it locally. But if you have CDN prefix set in your environments, staging or production, whatever it is, of course, it's going to pull it from there. You could do the same thing in CSS. Like if CDN prefix exists, prepend it. If not, just use local assets. So Josh wrote a really good piece on setting up CloudFront. This is pretty much the exact same method I'd use to get our assets on CloudFront. So I would just Google Josh Owens CloudFront if you're curious about how to get that all started. So my third point is that the route changes can leave you in some awkward spots. So in traditional web, when you're hitting new pages, it's like loading all content fresh, right? It's like initializing a reload and fetching new data. But in our single page JavaScript Meteor land apps, this is sometimes not the case, and you could end up in some weird spots. So I said this a little bit early, but why should I worry about it? It's just some weird thing that, you know, some people tend to overlook in the previous generation of web development, but in JavaScript land, this is something that we actually have to be a little bit careful about. So at OKGrow, we have a package called router autoscroll. This does a little bit of magic for you and some state management. So if you hit the back button, for instance, it remembers where you were. I wanted to give you a short little example of what I mean by all this stuff. I need to get out of here. I just want to make sure that my server is running. It is. So I screwed up my site just a bit so I could show you guys what happens on most sites. So I'm going to click Have a Lovely Day on my site, and I'm going to show some content. As you know, I was kind of like halfway down my page. That's also not cool. I mean, I should probably be taken straight to the top depending on what type of site it is. So let's say this is some blog article I'm reading through, and I go to the bottom and I want to go to the next page. I'm going to click Have a Lovely Day. This is going to take me to some other page. Again, I'm like kind of in limbo. And just to give you some context, this site, it's just zoomed in. So if I were like on a phone, just to make it more obvious about what's actually happening. So content is changing and I'm being left in a little bit of a limbo state. There's a difference between like where the content is. So this top two paragraphs are part of a layout layout. And this could happen in Flow Router or Iron Router or any type of router. Everything under here is part of a yield. So this is the stuff that's actually changing. So again, if I were to hit Have a Lovely Day, like I'm left in some weird spot instead of being scrolled to the top. easy fix would be like Meteor add grow router autoscroll. Basically what this is going to do is take me to the top of the page. So I'm going to scroll down. I read my article. I click on have a lovely day. And instead of being stuck in some weird state halfway down my page, I'm scrolled to the top. Again, this is like a super edge case, but some weird gotchas in modern JavaScript land that lots of us developers have to deal with. And back to this talk. Boy, where is it? Oh yeah, that's it. That's all I got. So one thing I want to do is plug meteorweekly.com. If you're not already subscribed, you should be. Rishi, Gumar, and myself put out weeklies, or we try to, every week. And if you have any questions, please tweet them out at me. I like to go a little bit more in depth with those 3 things that I brought up. So I'm planning on writing some blog posts. If you're interested in seeing or me diving into any more or deeper into any of those topics, just shoot me off a tweet and I'll make sure to write about it. And thanks for listening.
All right. Thanks, Karl. So apparently we have 46 people in the room, but we have 101 votes on the first question here.
Okay.
All right. So have you tried reactive? I think it's called reactive helmet. Have you taken a look at that at all for React and
I have not.
like setting metadata? I was looking at it the other day.
Okay, Googling reactive helmet isn't necessarily what I want. I'm getting actual helmets, but React. But yeah, I just needed to give more love to Aranota, I guess.
GitHub. Maybe GitHub brings it up. It's React Helmet. Sorry, not Reactive Helmet. But it's made by the engineers at the NFL.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I thought it was kind of interesting.
Right on. This is actually
I guess.
cool.
Yeah, I think for me, like I would rather, like if I'm going to migrate into React, I'd rather try to embrace some of the tooling in that ecosystem, because I have a feeling people are doing interesting things there as well, you know.
Right. Well, the cool thing about like React component lifecycles is that you have complete control over what exactly you set and when. So being able to pick like will mount, did mount, or if it updates, so on and so forth, you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's very interesting. All right. So the next question, have you or others on OK Grow team performed Blaze to React migrations for CMS type apps? How painful is it? If you have a team of developers who have only used Blaze, do you think it is worth migrating our app to React now? There's a lot in there.
I did that. Not necessarily for CMS type app. I helped someone do it.
So was it an OK Grow project?
So okgrow.com, I wouldn't necessarily count as like a big project. I mean, we do have a bunch of blog posts and stuff, and it wasn't too bad. I mean, I was able to do it like all Blaze components to all React components. Sorry, Blaze templates to React components fairly easily. There's only a couple gotchas, like for instance, I have like some arbitrary JavaScript running on some of the blog posts to do syntax highlighting. stuff like that, like it's easy to put in like a template.onRendered, but in a React component, it really depends on how you're hitting the page. If you're coming from a route from within the site, the way that the life cycle of the React component goes through is actually different if you're coming from it from a link somewhere else, like, I don't know, in a Google result, like you click on a link / blog post, right? It'll actually run a little bit differently. So you have to keep those edge cases in check. For that example, the syntax highlighting, I needed to initialize my syntax highlighter on will update and did mount, which I thought was funny, but it seems to work that way.
All right. So I guess the other part of that question
No.
is it worth migrating their app to React now? Like, what are your thoughts there too?
Oh, you definitely do have more control over lifecycle. Again, like React is pretty powerful in that way. So I helped someone, part of our code club. So I run a code club every month here in Toronto. It used to be a Meteor code club. We recently rebranded it to be JavaScript code club, just because we're trying to embrace a little bit of a larger community, bringing in React folk, Angular folk, whatever. And so I sat down with a guy, and he had a fairly large content site. It was pretty much all content being delivered, and it was a Meteor app in Blaze, and the SSR was super important to them, and like being able to be indexed and whatever. So it was a little bit painful, but I mean, we got through it still fairly quick. I say it's worth it. I say it's worth it. There's a lot of stuff that you get out of having everything in React versus Blaze. So if you're going to take the bullet now, I guess you should, seeing as everyone else is embracing it. I've done it for 2 projects, but they were fairly small. But I mean, again, it's pretty, like, once you get in the groove of like moving all the templates over and like handlebars to, you know, nested functions within your class, it's not so bad.
All
54
right.
votes away from every single person voting on one thing.
Supposedly, I emailed Sai. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, man. Something's broken.
Yeah.
A part of being cool, what are the benefits of using Meteor for a content type site compared to something like WordPress?
Oh, well, funnily enough, WordPress is moving, or I think their newest version has moved to Node. So
The
awesome.
admin
More
site.
people. Is it the admin site? Oh, okay. So I take that back. But we're nerds, man. We're nerds. We want to use like the coolest tools. We want to use what feels good. So that's a total benefit. Being able to like build something in Meteor is like jet fuel compared to something as obtuse as WordPress. I don't know. I just enjoy it. I'm pretty sure a lot of us would anyway. As far as benefits, um, again, like if you're doing it in React, it's more control, I'd say, over
Yeah, I don't
your
know. I guess my
component
my
life
thoughts
cycle.
are like it's still there's a ways to go with JavaScript CMSs. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
because I
well, they
mean,
don't
it
exist.
really comes down to the SEO, right?
Um,
Like I use Ghost because I did not want to deal with pre-render, and we'll talk about that in the next talk too. I think that it's still more expensive than people want it to be. So yeah,
yep, I agree
I
with
hear you.
that. Yeah, and
Oh,
being able to write. Oh, I was just gonna say, being able to write like a Meteor app as you would with the benefit of being able to like serve content the way, like in a pretty like low level way, is pretty beneficial, especially for non-technical people who are always editing our site, right? I want them to be able to do that without like coming to me and saying, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing in this code base." But
right.
yeah.
Maybe a different way to ask this question. Have you done any testing with React, like UI testing or anything like that?
Yes, we just started this like last week, so I'm not the right person to ask, but we have tests going using a runner. We have this plugged into like Semaphore for CI and deploying to a staging environment. Very simple tests. I mean, we're just looking for certain keywords on a site that are passable. Other than that, I mean,
so
not yet.
it's probably hard to compare
I should probably have some examples.
testing Blaze versus React at this point, because I mean, you'd have to use something like Chimp or go to 1.3 and try to use Mocha or something along those lines with Blaze. So,
yep.
Interesting. Here we go. This is a good one. Most content-related sites also have some sort of admin area. Would you separate that out as a separate app and connect it to the same database? Or would you just make it part of the application itself and deliver it to all your clients?
That's an awesome question.
If only there were a blog post on that.
Admin area. I hate the idea of admin. Yeah, I actually hate the idea of admin like panels. That's why I was like so on board with like having everything kind of be static in a backend and easily organized. If I were to have something,
that's
I probably separated it
that's
out.
what I did for the Mastering Meteor site, and I wrote a little blog post about it. And so I think the problem here with this, like what the question's alluding to, is we lack code splitting. There's no good way for me to say like only send this bit of JavaScript down or that bit of JavaScript down, right? And so when you connect to some site like Crater, you're getting all the HTML templates and all that JavaScript for all the admin screens and everything. So, I think that's probably bad. Like when you look and you see you got like a 2 meg tarball of JavaScript coming down, that's probably not the experience you want your people to have. But until we get some kind of good code splitting tool, that's what you have to deal with. And that's why I think a lot of people are interested in Webpack.
I agree with that. Yeah, when it comes to content, like only data down the wire, right? That's like one of Meteor's mantras. So like even if you have this stuff faked on the server side just in memory, you're not sending that stuff on first payload. So all you're getting is that HTML like just empty until you actually need the content, depending on where you are, if it's the blog or whatever other page that's serving up content.
Apparently he meant WordPress, not Meteor. I don't know.
Okay.
What do you mean, Ryan? I don't know. Oh, okay. No, that was
actually talking about WordPress.
Not paying attention. Have paying attention. All right. Is your OK Grow? I did it again. OK Grow code for serving static Markdown files open source somewhere, or explain in a blog post? Just curious if we could use it as a quick start for a blog. Is there a post? Finish
There's
it,
not.
Karl. Finish
I'm
it.
actually in the middle of writing it.
All right.
I don't know.
Well, now you have all the reference material you need for the post, right?
So that's Elijah.
All
I
right.
would just,
So
yeah,
we'll see it next
totally.
week, right?
I'll actually call him out and say,
Stop eating,
done.
Josh.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben. I'm hungry. All right. Do we have any other questions? You did, yeah.
So I totally rushed through that. And yeah.
All right. I don't know. Board game break. Yes, yes. Wait, if this were Space Camp, we could totally do that. That would work. That would be awesome. So, what other interesting things are you working on, Carl?
Oh, interesting, eh? Uh, really nothing. Um, what else could I show you?
Apparently, you should tell us about the monkey in the diaper.
What? Uh, yeah, you mean
Yeah.
Ben and the monkey in the diaper.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
we'll
know. I got nothing
we'll
for you.
break here, and we will come back. Um, let's see. Oh, ping. Oh, here we go. So if
No?
your content is all static coming from Markdown files, what do you use DDP
All
for?
static.
I'm having a hard time figuring out why you'd want to do this in Meteor.
Only because we're nerds.
Mm,
You
because you
really don't
can.
need to. Um, because you can,
Mm.
really. You don't need DDP. Um,
So
yeah.
I'll relate this back maybe to a project we did when I was at Differential. We did the site in Meteor, and I'm not sure that it really needed to be done in Meteor either. We actually wrote like a blog and everything, and we even had like Medium highlighting and all that stuff going on. But then it turned out that was a really bad idea to do in real time. Um, but yeah, so we started working on a GitHub page, and I don't know if you still go. Differential may still have this up, but if you go to look at like their GitHub organization like landing page, the one thing we did use DDP for was to scrape a bunch of GitHub info, put it together in an interesting way, and then reserve that up to a DDP client that was hosted on the GitHub page, and we consumed it. So like we didn't need it for the main site, but we did actually park all that stuff in a Meteor app that we did end up using for GitHub. It's kind of funny.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I should also preface like it's not like for the okgrow.com site, it's not necessarily just all content. There's like a little bit of a back end. We're considered Meteor experts, so I thought, why not? Um, there's some other things that come with it, like it's still a Meteor app. There just happens to be some spots like /blog, which is heavily content. So having it in the same code
Yeah.
base is
Well, and I
the
also
idea
think,
there.
like, I don't know, maybe this will reveal my darker marketing side, but you want to be able to do things too, like controlling the Facebook pixel or Google Analytics and doing interesting things there. And like you could use jQuery, but I don't want to use jQuery. um, anyway,
No.
yeah. So Ben
Anyway,
wants to know, some say React is overkill for apps, most apps. Do you agree? Oh wait, he's changing it on me. For example, Pete Hunt says React is for large apps that need to scale. Is this a case for Blaze?
oh
Major
man,
deep.
is this a case for Blaze? You're asking the wrong guy because I have a love affair with Blaze. I wish more people didn't give it like such a bad rap. It's just so easy compared to like It can't be. So to Ryan Burkett in the comments, he's saying like
Yeah, it
Blaze
can though.
can't be server rendered. He's right. It's like,
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
can it though? Like
Not
without
not out of the
use of,
box. You have to use
what am I
the flow
missing?
router like SSR stuff, right? So basically, you just have to bring Blaze into the server
Yeah,
environment and then
of
mount
course.
those templates up and serve those up as HTML.
Yes. Okay. You could do that. But what was I
Why
going on
Blaze?
with? Just it's pretty. Why Blaze? Why Blaze? Just because it's simple. Like, um, there's not so much overhead. The life cycle was pretty, um, you know, pretty synchronous as far as like what it does. It doesn't do much, but it was like what you need for fairly simple builds. Um, I have a lot of like new developers coming into the code club who are like gung ho about using React, even in Meteor, and I mean, awesome, like great, like just jump in and get started. But of course, you're going to run into a lot of gotchas. I just felt like using handlebars within Blaze was like the simplest thing that you could do and the most immediate like gratification building something. Um,
All right.
yeah, I don't know. We built
Yeah.
some pretty complex
And
apps using
so
Blaze.
I don't know, you know, it's interesting, right? And I think the problem with Blaze is not a problem with I mean, maybe there's some performance issues there, right? And those could probably be fixed. And I think as your app gets bigger, yeah, it gets harder to understand what's going on in all the parts of the app, and maybe React components are a better fit for a larger app and for reusability across your app. But
Right.
I think that the biggest reason why React will always be greater than Blaze has nothing to do with the technical merits of each. To me, the React community will always be bigger than the Blaze community, right? You're always going to have this small subset of Meteor people
Definitely will.
that are like tied into Blaze, but React can be used with anything, and so like inherently the React community is going to be bigger, and it's much easier to Google for an answer, right? Bigger pool of people, yeah,
It very
and
much
React
is.
Native, yeah, just
Yep,
hashtag win. Uh,
for sure.
so someone asked in the comments, is there a parallel to React's lifecycle and Blaze templating? You want to take that?
Yeah, I was in the middle of answering. There is almost. You have more control over the life cycle of a React component just because there's more things that you could do. There's a lot more of a granular step-by-step thing you get with like the React component versus like the only three functions that you could call with the Blaze lifecycle, like on rendered, on created, on destroyed, versus like all the mounting and updating with actual props that you can get in React.
Yeah.
But that was like the ease of use thing because it was kind of handled for you. A little bit of magic behind the curtain.
Yeah. Oh yeah, here you go. So Ben asked, I feel like we answered Robert's question. I hope you feel we answered your question, Robert. So Ben asked, how do you like using jQuery plugins and other DOM manipulating libraries with React, like D3 and stuff? Ha 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 ha.
Oh man, not fun.
Why is that?
I do not like it.
No.
Is that a sufficient answer? It's like you have to be very careful about how you initialize things. I've lost a couple days just trying to figure out why it initializes a certain way and doesn't in others, especially like when you start nesting components or like a component has more like parent components or whatever, and you have to deal with all of that. Um, the way that you should be writing them, and maybe this was part of my learning, is everything should be more independent. So if I'm initializing a piece of jQuery, it should probably be within that component itself instead of like outside or scoped differently. I'm just, I mean, like if you're using React, I don't know, like don't use jQuery. But I mean, it's inevitable that you'll have to use a plugin or D3. D3, of course, you have to use that. It's like the biggest library.
Yeah. So Ben points out
For
that
graphing.
virtual DOM is the issue, right? So they're keeping track of their own kind of copy of what should be there, and when you bring it in, it blows up with.
Yeah. So you have to be very careful about cleanup as well.
All right. So we've got about 27 minutes before the next talk starts. So we'll just take an extended break here. Feel free to get some snacks. I already ate all mine. Sorry. And we'll be back in a few minutes. And I just want to say thank you to you, Karl, for coming on and giving your talk. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah. All right.
Glad to be here.
All right, guys. Be back in 26 minutes. This video has been a Space Dojo production. You can click the Learn More button to find out more about us at spacedojo.com. Or you can click the subscribe button to get notified about new videos we put out each week. Thanks for watching.